They stole our prosperity. Poilievre's mic dropped SHREDS' liberal economic agenda in Parliament. Pierre Poilievre stood in the House of Commons with a fire in his tone and frustration in his words. In a blistering critique of the Liberal government's economic policies, he accused them of stealing the prosperity of everyday Canadians. He painted a picture of a country once rich with opportunity and ambition now shackled by endless bureaucracy, excessive taxation, and the ideological stranglehold of elites who don't understand the struggles of ordinary families. His speech was more than political posturing. It was a wake-up call, a mic-drop moment that summed up the growing disillusionment with a federal government that, in his view, has forgotten its duty to serve the people. At the heart of Poilievre's attack was a damning indictment of the Liberal government's handling of Canada's economy. He pointed out that the average Canadian now spends more on taxes than on food, clothing, and shelter combined. This, he argued, is a direct result of bloated government programs, wasteful spending, and regulatory red tape that punishes productivity. He accused Mark Carney and the Liberal caucus of substituting real economic growth with artificial schemes and subsidies that only benefit politically connected insiders. In his words, Canada has become a country where working harder earns you less, and obeying the rules just gets you stuck in the system. One of Poilievre's sharpest criticisms was aimed at the regulatory framework that governs natural resource development and construction. He cited legislation like the Impact Assessment Act, emissions caps, and tanker bans as tools the Liberals have used to kneecap Canadian industry. Projects that could have provided jobs, energy security, and national revenue have been stifled or abandoned altogether. The Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion, for example, ballooned in cost from $4 billion to $36 billion under Liberal mismanagement, with delays dragging on for years. These policies, Poilievre argued, aren't just inefficient, they are ideologically driven assaults on national prosperity. He then turned to the absurdity of Canada's permitting system, revealing how long it takes to get anything built. He recalled the story of a Toronto developer who needed nothing from the government except permission, and after years of trying, still hadn't broken ground. According to international benchmarks, Canada is among the slowest in the OECD when it comes to granting building permits. While our allies are encouraging investment and speeding up approvals, Canada forces its entrepreneurs and builders to navigate a maze of delays, consultations, and contradictory rules. For Poilievre, this isn't just a bureaucratic issue, it's an act of sabotage against Canadian ambition. In an especially scathing moment, Poilievre called out the hypocrisy of Liberal energy policy. He noted that while they reject Canadian oil pipelines in the name of climate responsibility, they celebrate foreign liquefied natural gas projects as green innovation. It's a contradiction he refused to ignore. He accused the Liberals of using environmentalism as cover for their political preferences, vilifying Alberta's oil industry while quietly greenlighting other projects that are no less carbon-intensive. According to him, it's not about the environment, it's about control. He didn't stop at energy policy. Poilievre tore into the very foundation of the Liberal approach to climate and economy, saying that carbon pricing, combined with massive subsidies and government handouts, has created a warped system. Rather than encouraging innovation or reducing emissions, these policies have led to rising costs for consumers, economic uncertainty for businesses, and dwindling competitiveness. He claimed that under this model, success is determined not by efficiency or merit, but by political connections and regulatory compliance. Adding fuel to the fire, Poilievre challenged the legitimacy of the new Building Canada Act, legislation championed by Mark Carney and recently passed as Bill C-5. While its intent was to fast-track major infrastructure projects, Poilievre argued it does the opposite. He pointed out that Indigenous groups had walked out of consultations, accusing the government of bypassing environmental reviews and trampling on treaty rights. The result? Another Liberal law promising progress but delivering chaos and division. Poilievre framed this as part of a long pattern of the Liberals claiming moral superiority while governing with arrogance and indifference. Health care and housing weren't spared either. Poilievre accused the federal government of offering empty promises on both. Emergency room wait times are growing, family doctors are harder to find, and provinces are being smothered by federal micromanagement. Meanwhile, the housing crisis continues to escalate. Skyrocketing prices, record-low housing starts, and worsening homelessness show that federal policies, however well-packaged, aren't working. Poilievre demanded answers. Where are the results? How will a government that can't even approve a building permit solve a national housing shortage? Central to his critique was the growing disconnect between liberal leadership and the real world. He singled out Mark Carney, the former banker-turned-politician, as a symbol of this problem. While Carney may speak fluently about carbon markets and global governance, Poilievre suggested he lacks the basic understanding of what life is like for a working-class Canadian. Despite repealing the carbon tax days after forming a minority government, Poilievre argued it was a symbolic move, one that did little to address the deeper rot in the system. To him, it's not enough to trim around the edges when the entire structure is failing. This attack reflects Poilievre's broader campaign theme, reclaiming economic agency. Since the snap election was called in April, he has consistently framed the choice facing Canadians as one between freedom and control. Under the Conservatives, he promises to cut red tape, lower taxes, restore local autonomy, and revive private enterprise. The Liberals, he contends, want a Canada where success is state-sanctioned and citizens are managed from cradle to grave. It's a message that has resonated deeply, especially among younger Canadians priced out of homes and older workers watching their savings erode. Still, not all observers are convinced. Critics argue that while Poilievre is adept at identifying problems, he's lighter on solutions, particularly when it comes to climate. Repealing carbon pricing without a viable replacement, they warn, could alienate trade partners and undermine international commitments. And while he's vowed to streamline regulations, environmental advocates caution that unchecked development could backfire economically and ecologically. Poilievre may be right about government overreach, but governing also requires restraint, balance, and credibility. As Parliament adjourned, Poilievre delivered a sharp rebuke of the Carney government's agenda, warning Canada is at a crossroads. He urged a return to prosperity by freeing the economy and cutting red tape, or face a future of decline and ideological control. Whether Canadians agree or not, Poilievre made it clear he won't be silenced. And the Liberals can no longer ignore the fire he's lit. Money,